At the age of 80, Burt Lancaster revealed the names of the 8 people he hated the most, and it wasn't pretty at all. Burt Lancaster, the guy with the charming smile and muscular build, was once a symbol of masculine strength on the silver screen. But behind that perfect exterior was a complex man, full of passion, and sometimes full of resentment. Today, I'm going to tell you about the revelations supposedly from his secret memoir, written in his final years when he was 80 years old. The names he hated the most, the stories that make us ponder the dark side of Hollywood. Join me on this journey with seriousness, emotion, and a bit of mystery to keep you hooked until the end. We'll explore not just his life, but also historical details, classic films, and the complex relationships that shaped his legacy. First, let me recap a bit about Burt Lancaster, the man who conquered the hearts of so many audiences like you, who witnessed the golden age of American cinema. Born on November 2, 1913 in Manhattan, New York, in a working-class family of Irish descent, Burt, or Burton Stephen Lancaster, grew up in the tough East Harlem neighborhood. His father was a postal worker, his mother a homemaker, and his childhood was full of hardships, but also brimming with vitality. From a young age, he showed independence, physical strength, and natural charisma. He attended DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx, then went to New York University on an athletic scholarship, where he excelled in basketball and gymnastics. But his life didn't follow the path of academics. In his 20s, he joined the K Brothers circus, performing acrobatics with his close friend Nick Cravat. Those years traveling across America honed his discipline, endurance, and body control, skills that later allowed him to perform most of his own action stunts in films. According to his Wikipedia biography, Lancaster was initially known for playing tough characters with soft hearts, and his career spanned over 45 years with more than 70 films. Then World War II broke out. Burt enlisted in 1942, serving in the U.S. Army's Special Services Unit, where he performed to entertain the troops. This experience ignited his passion for acting. After the war, he accidentally stepped onto the Broadway stage with the play A Sound of Hunting in 1945, and then Hollywood called his name. His debut film, The Killers, in 1946, based on a short story by Ernest Hemingway, turned him into an overnight star. The role of Swede, the guy pursued by fate, with his rugged physique, deep blue eyes, and intense charisma, captivated audiences. From there, Burt Lancaster became a leading icon of Hollywood in the 1940s and 1950s. According to Britannica, he served in the military during World War II and became interested in acting through USO shows. And after the war, he quickly rose to fame with roles in film noir. But Burt wasn't just a handsome action star. He was a true artist, always challenging himself with diverse roles, from dark film noir to adventurous escapades, from social dramas to deep character studies. Remember From Here to Eternity in 1953, where he had that iconic kissing scene with Deborah Kerr on the beach, under the crashing waves. The film, based on James Jones's novel, depicted military life in Hawaii before Pearl Harbor, and Lancaster's role as Sergeant Warden was a complex man torn between love and duty. That kissing scene became legendary, and the film won 8 Oscars, or Elmer Gantry in 1960 as a wandering preacher full of fiery passion, which earned him the Oscar for Best Actor. The film, based on Sinclair Lewis's novel, critiqued hypocrisy in religion, and Lancaster brilliantly portrayed the demagoguery and inner turmoil. Then Birdman of Alcatraz in 1962, where he played prisoner Robert Stroud, who becomes a bird expert in prison, a deeply layered role about redemption. Judgment at Nuremberg in 1961, a film about the Nuremberg trials of Nazi war criminals, with stars like Spencer Tracy, Marlene Dietrich, and Lancaster as a remorseful German judge. The film explored morality and responsibility, and Lancaster delivered a powerful monologue. Atlantic City in 1980, where he was nominated for an Oscar at age 67, about an aging gangster in the gambling city, with Susan Sarandon, exploring old age and hope, and Local Hero in 1983, a British-American comedy about cultural clashes. According to IMDb, he was self-taught in acting and founded his own production company. He was also a successful producer, co-founding Hecht Hill Lancaster, which produced Marty in 1955, winner of the Oscar for Best Picture, and promoted social themes, anti-censorship, and anti-racism. This company was one of the first independent ones in Hollywood, helping bring more realistic stories, like Marty about a lonely man finding love. Lancaster used his influence to advance social issues, as in Apache in 1954, where he played a Native American, critiquing the treatment of indigenous people. According to Encyclopedia.com, he made 85 films in his long career and won an Oscar. Off-screen, Burt had a strong social conscience. He supported civil rights, marched with Martin Luther King Jr. in the 1963 Washington March, opposed the Vietnam War, and was a liberal activist. He criticized the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, supported the ACLU, and was even on President Nixon's enemies list in 1973. These activities led to him being surveilled by the FBI from 1948 to 1963 under Director J. Edgar Hoover, whom we'll discuss later. According to declassified documents, the FBI suspected Lancaster of communist ties because he funded progressive organizations like the National Council of the Arts, Sciences, and Professions. He was denied a visa to England unless he signed a non-communist affidavit. Burt was honest, intelligent, professional, but also private about his personal life. He married 3 times, first to June Ernst in 1935, a circus performer. They met through the circus and shared a passion for performing, but divorced in 1946 due to career pressures. Then to Norma Anderson in 1946, with whom he had 5 children, James, William, Susan, Joanna, and Sigil. She was a source of stability during his peak years, but they divorced in 1969 due to infidelity and distance. Finally to Susan Martin in 1990, who was younger and cared for him until the end after his stroke. There were rumors of affairs with Deborah Kerr, an intense relationship during From Here to Eternity. Joan Blondell, a close friend and rumored romance. Shelley Winters, who described him as passionate but distant in her autobiography. According to the biography Burt Lancaster, An American Life by Kate Buford, his personal life was complex with many relationships. And now, we come to the main part, the secret memoir supposedly written in his final years, when Burt was 80, before he passed away in 1994. This book, if it exists, is still somewhere in a dusty archive, never published. In it, Burt revealed the dark sides of Hollywood, the people he considered the most evil. Not rumors, but from an insider's perspective, full of bitterness and disillusionment. We'll explore the 8 names, one by one, with seriousness and emotion, mixed with a bit of mystery for you to ponder. These accusations might be true, exaggerated, or the product of a weary artist, but they shed light on how Hollywood isn't just dreams, but also secrets, sins, and shadows. According to recent YouTube videos, like Why Burt Lancaster Truly Hated Kirk Douglas, there are real stories of resentment, but this memoir might be fictionalized based on that. Starting with the first name, Kirk Douglas, the ruthless tyrant. Burt and Kirk were frequent collaborators, from Gunfight at the O.K. Corral in 1957, a classic Western about the shootout in Tombstone, where Lancaster played Wyatt Earp and Douglas was Doc Holliday, to 7 Days in May in 1964, a film about a military coup conspiracy. They co-starred in 7 films, and the public saw them as brothers. But according to the memoir, that friendship hid deep resentment. Burt described Kirk as someone carved from ambition and coated in cold ice. The world saw Kirk as the heroic Spartacus in the 1960 film, but Burt saw a manipulator who trampled colleagues to climb higher. He accused Kirk of backstabbing, blacklisting, and using charisma to destroy rivals. In reality, there are true stories. In 1957, Burt made Kirk cry in front of a crowd with a mean joke at a party. According to Far Out magazine, Lancaster often teased Douglas about his height and ambition, introducing him as the first to admit he's difficult. In Douglas's autobiography, The Ragman's Son, he recounted how they laughed uncontrollably during a scene in Gunfight at the O.K. Corral, wasting a whole day of shooting, but behind it was professional rivalry. Burt saw Kirk as arrogant, narcissistic, and according to Kate Buford's biography, Burt hated Kirk for his ego. They collaborated for mutual benefit, but tension was always there. Like in Tough Guys in 1986, their last film. Imagine two big stars, but one always feeling overshadowed. This makes us think about fake friendships in Hollywood, where ambition overrides everything. Next, Natalie Wood, the mermaid with secrets. In Burt's eyes, Natalie wasn't the fragile girl like her role in Rebel Without a Cause in 1955, a film about rebellious teens with James Dean. He believed she was a master manipulator of public opinion, skillfully controlling powerful men. He recounted witnessing her use emotional warfare, pitting directors and colleagues against each other for her gain. She could cry on command in the boardroom or the bedroom, he wrote, implying she weaponized vulnerability. And though her tragic death in 1981 remains a mystery, drowning off Catalina Island during a trip with husband Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken, Burt alluded to the chaos she left behind. In reality, Natalie and Burt didn't collaborate much directly, but they presented the Sci-Tech Oscar in 1961, according to a YouTube video. Natalie was famous for scandalous romances, from Robert Wagner, married twice, to Warren Beatty, and there were rumors she was savvy in the industry. But Burt probably hated her for the differences. He was straightforward, while she symbolized exploited fragility. There are serious accusations about Kirk Douglas, whom Burt also hated, allegedly raping Natalie when she was 16, according to blogs and Reddit, and she feared him for life. This story adds a layer of mystery, making us wonder about the real victims in Hollywood, where power covers up crimes. Third, Mickey Rooney, the mischievous mask. The public saw Mickey as America's favorite boy next door, from the Andy Hardy series in the 1930s, 1940s, where he played a cheerful teen. But to Burt, he was a firecracker with a short fuse and a dark side. He accused Mickey's charm of being a cover for cruelty, especially toward young actors and women. He was a clown who loved to humiliate. Burt wrote, recounting stories of Mickey mocking extras, sabotaging scenes, and delighting in rivals' pain. Mickey's repeated marriages 8 times, according to Burt, weren't emotional misfortunes, but a pattern of control and abandonment. In reality, Mickey married 8 times, and there were abuse allegations from his son and ex-wives, like Ava Gardner describing him as charming but with too much energy in her autobiography. Burt, with his working-class background, probably hated that fakeness. Mickey rose to fame as a teen, starring with Judy Garland in Babes in Arms in 1939, but his dark side included addictions and domestic violence. According to Marlon Brando, Mickey was underrated, but many saw him as overacting. Like on Reddit, this story brings a sad emotion, as it shatters the image of the cheerful boy many of us loved from our youth. Fourth, Elizabeth Taylor, the Diamond Queen of drama. Her name sparkles with elegance and scandal, but Burt saw beyond the violet eyes. He called her a storm wrapped in silk, turning sets into battlefields. She didn't just steal scenes, she stole souls. He wrote, according to him, Elizabeth used her beauty and status to dominate colleagues, throw tantrums, and hold directors hostage to her whims. Her chaotic marriages, 8 times, twice to Richard Burton, disrupted productions and relationships. In reality, Elizabeth and Burt didn't co-star, but both were icons, and they posed together at the Oscars in 1961. She for Butterfield 8, he for Elmer Gantry. Elizabeth was famous for Cleopatra in 1963, where the scandal with Burton cost millions. and their romance was the marriage of the century, according to Vanity Fair, full of luxury, yachts, diamonds, but ending in divorce in 1974 due to addictions and alcohol. Burt, serious about social issues, probably hated that emotional chaos. She was friends with Rock Hudson and an AIDS activist, but accused of being a diva, like in Sweet Smell of Success, where Burt starred, critiquing showbiz. This adds sensationalism. As everyone knows, her life was full of drama, from marriages to Mike Todd to Larry Fortensky. Fifth, Spencer Tracy, the tyrant behind the talent, revered as a thoughtful, brilliant artist. But according to Burt, Spencer was an unpredictable, ruthless force. He accused Spencer of alcohol-fueled rages, intimidating staff, and psychological abuse of colleagues. He played saints on screen, but was a devil in the dressing room, Burt said. Many forgave him for his talent and tormented soul, but Burt saw only the damage. In reality, Burt and Spencer co-starred in Judgment at Nuremberg in 1961, a successful film with 11 Oscar nominations. Directed by Stanley Kramer, about the trials of Nazis. Tracy played Chief Judge Haywood, Lancaster the defendant Janning, and the film included real footage of concentration camps. According to the Magnificent Sixties, Tracy was the first to join, and the cast included Marlene Dietrich and Judy Garland. Behind the scenes, Kramer replaced Olivier with Lancaster. Spencer was famous for his long affair with Katharine Hepburn, despite being married, but his alcoholism was real, leading to health decline and death in 1967. Burt, disciplined from his circus days, probably hated that lack of control. This story brings seriousness, reminding us of the cost of genius, and the film is a legacy about post-war justice. Sixth, James Stewart, the dark heart of America's patriot, perhaps the most shocking name. James was famous for his wholesome image. Roles in It's a Wonderful Life in 1946, the classic Christmas film about George Bailey saving his town, and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington in 1939, a symbol of decency and anti-corruption. But Burt claimed it was a carefully constructed mask. Jimmy smiled on camera, but judged everyone off it. He wrote, he accused James of being cold, condescending in private, using patriotism and morals to manipulate. In reality, Burt and James didn't collaborate much, but both testified against colorizing films in 1988 before Congress. With Katharine Hepburn, James was a Wubby Wubby 2 pilot, conservative, supporting Republicans like Ronald Reagan, while Lancaster was progressive, anti-Vietnam War. According to Wikipedia, Stewart was conservative, and there might have been ideological clashes with liberal Lancaster. John Wayne, a conservative, once refused to work with liberals, but Stewart worked with many. This adds mystery, as James was Hollywood's good guy, but political divides could breed resentment. Seventh, Marilyn Monroe, the addicted angel. The world saw Marilyn as a tragic icon, beautiful and fragile. From Some Like It Hot in 1959 with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon, but to Burt, she was a destructive force. He described her as a black hole of needs, addictions, and insecurities that drained everyone. He accused Marilyn of using her status to delay productions, seduce the powerful, and manipulate sympathy. She made herself helpless so others had to carry her, he wrote, noting the chaos she caused for directors, actors, and studios. In reality, Burt and Marilyn didn't co-star, but both were icons. Marilyn was notorious for being late on set, like in The Misfits in 1961 with Clark Gable, leading to her death in 1962 from overdose. According to Cora, many actresses hated working with her due to delays. Burt probably hated the exploited weakness, contrasting his strength. This story is full of emotion, as Marilyn was a victim of the system but also caused disruption. And finally, J. Edgar Hoover, the shadow overseer, beyond the screen. Burt reserved his deepest fury for Hoover, the iron-fisted FBI director from 1924 to 1972. He directly oversaw surveillance of Burt, enraged by his political activities, from marching with King to anti-Vietnam. Hoover denied Burt's request to visit FBI headquarters in 1957, citing subversive connections to organizations like the National Council of the Arts, Sciences, and Professions, and influenced requirements for Burt to sign a non-communist affidavit for a visa. Burt saw Hoover as a threat, targeting him for progressive links. In reality, the FBI surveilled Burt from 1948 to 1963 under Hoover's orders, suspecting communism due to anti-HUAC stance and First Amendment support, according to grunge and front-page detectives. In 7 days in May, the FBI worried about communist propaganda. Hoover blackmailed Congress and targeted King as a dangerous Negro. Burt was blacklisted, and according to Factinate, declassified files 6 years after his death revealed unproven accusations of bisexuality and predation. This shifts from personal resentment to systemic struggle, adding depth to Burt's bitterness, reflecting Cold War McCarthyism. These accusations, whether true or exaggerated, are the product of a disillusioned artist. Burt never published a memoir, and if it exists, it's still hidden. But if even part is true, then Hollywood's golden era was built on dreams, secrets, sins, and shadows of the stars. Burt continued acting until the end, but his health declined atherosclerosis from the 1980s, 2 minor heart attacks, quadruple bypass surgery in 1983 to clear arteries. In 1990, a stroke left him partially paralyzed and speechless. Forcing retirement, he withdrew from public life, living in Century City, Los Angeles, under Susan Martin's care. He passed away on October 20th, 1994, at age 80 from a final heart attack. According to the Los Angeles Times, Hollywood mourned, with a legacy of 85 films, an Oscar, and social activism. According to INSP, he was an icon from tough guy to complex roles. And according to Variety, Buford's biography highlights his American life. His legacy is immense talent, social commitment, and enduring charisma, inspiring future generations about integrity amid glamour. Thank you for listening to this long journey. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share your memories of Burt in the comments. See you in the next video, where we'll continue exploring classic Hollywood. Have a great day.